I've been playing Terraria for many years, only ever getting the achievements that just happen to come my way. But about a month ago, I decided that I wanted to change that and get every single achievement that the game has to offer. The only issue is that some of the achievements are harder to get than the others. Some being easy things like crafting a workbench or mining your first ore, while others are significantly harder. There are 104 achievements total to earn, and it took me forever to get them all, but nonetheless, I reset my achievements and began my journey. Now the way I went about this was pretty simple. I just let the achievements come to me. Most of the achievements in Terraria can be obtained by just playing the game, like all of the boss achievements or all of the achievements you can get while mining. So to cross them off my list and prepare for my first boss fight, I went mining. The main three things I was looking for were chests to get basic equipment, tungsten ore for armor, and life crystals to boost my health. Once that was done, I went to the Crimson to get myself a gun to be able to use the ranged attack, and it also happened to cross off another achievement that I needed. I also started my elevator so I could get the Going to Hell achievement early on. Once I got back up, I got down to business. I wiped the floor with the Goblin army, leaving no one left alive. Got Hellstone armor to make myself stronger than the gods. Killed the Brain of Cthulhu because it was smarter than me. Murdered the Eye of Cthulhu because I have glasses and it could see better than me. Slayed the Skull trying to access the dungeon, made my Hell Highway, and defeated the Wall of Flesh. Hard mode had begun, and I wasted no time blessing my world with ores that I required to advance. What I wanted was spider armor, because having like 5 spiders deals a crazy amount of damage, but to do so I had to get titanium armor, so that I actually stood a chance at killing the spiders. I hoped that once I started farming for spiders, I would find the stylist NPC, but I never did, and finding her would become a huge issue later on. Once I had my spider armor, I became overpowered as hell, and started killing the big beefy mimics in order to get the Daedalus Stormbow. I grinded this shit for hours and couldn't get it. I even took a little break to build the little houses across the map to get like pylons to teleport between like areas of the world, but then I realized my mistake. The Daedalus Stormbow can only be dropped by hollowed mimics, and they only spawn in the hollow. I had been spawning them in the wrong biome, and as soon as I spawned one in the hollow, it dropped the bow instantly, so whatever, I ended up getting it in the end. Now that I had the bow, I then took to the skies to make an arena to defeat the Destroyer. I was now 1/3 of the way to getting the Bucket of Bolts achievement with only 2 more bosses to go. I decided to go after the twins next, and the only way for me to defeat them was to make this really annoying teleportation arena thing. I won't explain how to make it here, but if you want to know, just let me know in the comments. Okay, so at this point I think you guys get the whole letting the achievements come to me thing, so I'm just going to speed this along to show you the achievements that I actually hunted for. I had defeated the Moonlord and was ready to finish off these achievements. At this point I already had like 75 of the achievements and figured the rest of them would be a piece of cake. But they were not. Getting the rest of the achievements took me more time than it did for me to beat the actual game, but it's all for content, so I digress. At first I wanted to craft the Zenith, one because it would be easier to kill the side bosses and armies, but more so because I had every sword to make it but one, the Star Fury. I grinded for several hours and killed the Moonlord more times than I can count, but I just couldn't manage to get the sword, so I told myself I would come back at the end for the Zenith achievement. There were the easier achievements like touching the top and bottom of the map, which took literal seconds to complete, but there were 4 others that specifically stood out to me as a pain in the ass. The Supreme Helper Minion, Rainbows and Unicorns, Infinity +1 Sword, and the Hero of Etheria achievements. For me, the most annoying one ended up being the Hero of Etheria achievement, not because it was hard or anything to get, but because I forgot to bring one of the 4 sentry staffs with me to help me fight the army. Now you may be thinking, Okla, you beat the Moonlord, how are you going to let yourself get bested by some weak little army? And I kind of thought the same thing up until it came down to the last wave, and I had to fight a big fucking dragon along with defending the Terraria crystal from an endless horde of monsters. It was awful. So I obviously lost, and I had to redo it all over again. It took me like another 10 minutes. It was just really fucking annoying, and it made me want to quit the game. So that's why it was the most annoying. It wasn't anything hard, it was just a pain in the ass. Speaking of pains in the ass, the next achievement I went for was the Rainbows and Unicorns achievement. This achievement requires me to shoot the rainbow gun whilst riding a unicorn. That sounds pretty simple, right? Wrong. I had to grind for 2 items, the first one being the Blessed Apple, which allows me to ride the unicorn. The issue is that the Blessed Apple only has a 1 in 30 chance of dropping from a unicorn, which already have a pretty low spawn rate. After about a half hour of grinding and using the solar eclipse to increase enemy spawn rates, I got the apple. The other item I needed was a hollowed key, because the rainbow gun was locked inside of a hollowed chest in the dungeon. Each biome, except for the normal forest, has a biome key that can be dropped from any enemy once hardmode has begun. The issue for this item is that each key only has a 1 in 2500 chance of dropping. Yeah, 1 in 2500 chance. I went to the hollow and got to grinding, still using the solar eclipse to increase enemy spawn rate. Now what I didn't realize is that the hollowed biome on my world was conjoined with a desert. So after about an hour of grinding, the game finally decided to drop me a biome key. But it was for the fucking desert. I grinded for so long only to get the wrong goddamn key. To be able to get the hollowed key, I had to make the forest biome around my house into a hollow. While grinding, I accidentally spawned the Empress of Light. This was my first time fighting her, and honestly, she was pretty difficult even with all the endgame equipment. After about another in-game day, I got the key. The next achievement was to get the zenith, and after already trying to get this stupid sword for hours, I was not excited to get back to it again. I killed the Moonlord again, and again, and again, with no luck at all for each and every fight. I was actually starting to question whether the sword dropped from the Moonlord at all, but I decided I would give it one last shot before starting the fishing quest. My first attempt, nothing. My second attempt, nothing again. I only had one more try before I would have to fight the pillars all over again for the millionth fucking time. I was frankly getting really sick of this, and it made me get off the game multiple times at this point. But I started my legendary fight with the Moonlord for the last time. I said my goodbyes to the Moonlord and thanked him for all he had given me. I came to the realization that without the Moonlord, there was only one thing left to do: fish. But before I did that, I would honor the sword that I had made by absolutely crushing the Pumpkin army and reaching a score of over 10,000 fucking points. Oh my god. This is Terraria's honest form. It's full form. Oh my god. Oh my god, I didn't think base game Terraria could allow this, but it does. Now this is nuts. After my fun with killing the army and looking at the mess of loot that was all over the ground and I was never going to clean up, I got to fishing. Now there are a total of 5 fishing quest achievements. Let me tell you, they range in quantity. First it's 1 quest, then it goes to 10, then 25, then 50, and finally it stops at 200 quests for the angler, with only 2.5% of players ever getting this achievement. You're probably asking, it's only fishing, how hard can it possibly be? And yes, it is easy to do, but the angler only lets you complete 1 quest per day. That's 1 quest every 24 minutes, leading to roughly 80 hours of just pure fishing. You can decrease the time it takes by sleeping in a bed, but that still puts you at 1 quest every 5 minutes, leading to roughly 17 hours of just fishing. I fished normally for about the first 3 to 4 hours and completed about 35 quests before doing the math to see how long it would actually take me to do this. I was devastated. I considered not doing this achievement and making a video called something like, I don't know, things I never did in Terraria. So as a last ditch effort, I went to Google and found a way to do it. It would still take me another 3 hours, but it was better than doing like another 14, so I went with it. The way this method works is pretty simple actually. I fish from 4:30 a.m. when the quest first opens up to around 7 p.m. only catching the quest fish. From around 7 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. I would then turn all of those fish in, but since you can only turn in one quest per day, I had to create an army. I made 40 new characters to help me turn in the quests. One by one I would leave the world and join back in order to turn in another quest. I can already hear people saying, "This is cheating," or "one world, one character," and you want to know what I have to say to that? Fuck you. That's right, fuck you. I'm not fishing for 17 hours straight. Just doing this is taking a huge toll on my sanity. Once I had turned in the last fish and got the achievement, I was done. I had earned every single achievement in Terraria.